Eleanor Voss thought she was only fixing old records, until she discovered that every altered page in a library book was changing someone's real life. Names disappeared, identities changed, and forgotten secrets returned. Her search led her to a hidden archive and a mysterious system that had been quietly rewriting history for decades. But the biggest mystery was this: if someone was changing the past, who gave them the power to decide the truth? Part 1: The Strange Margins. The library never truly slept. Even at midnight, when the last visitors had left and the great bronze doors were locked, the building seemed alive. Air moved through hidden vents with a soft whisper. Climate control systems hummed behind centuries-old walls. Thousands of books settled imperceptibly on their shelves, producing tiny sounds that echoed through the darkness like distant footsteps. Eleanor Voss preferred those hours. The silence felt honest. People lied. Records didn't. At least that was what she had believed for most of her life. She sat alone beneath a brass reading lamp in the North Archive room, surrounded by towering shelves of leather-bound volumes. The light illuminated only a small circle around her desk while the rest of the room disappeared into shadows. Outside, rain tapped against the tall windows. Inside, Eleanor carefully turned another page. The book before her was nearly a century old. A local history publication commissioned by one of the city's wealthiest families. Normally, it would have been a routine cataloging assignment. Instead, it had consumed 3 days of her life. Something about it bothered her. She just couldn't explain why. Eleanor adjusted her glasses and examined a paragraph for the 5th time. The donor who had provided the book, a wealthy businessman named Richard Bellamy, had requested verification of several family references before allowing the library to digitize the volume. Simple enough, yet every time Eleanor reviewed the text, she felt a faint sense of contradiction. As though two versions of the same memory were competing inside her head. She rubbed her eyes. Lack of sleep, she decided. Nothing more. The rain intensified outside. She marked another note on her worksheet. Then froze. Her pen remained suspended above the page. Slowly, she leaned closer. The paragraph she had just read no longer matched the note she'd written 10 minutes earlier. Eleanor frowned. That wasn't possible. She checked the note again. According to her records, the book identified Bellamy's great-grandfather as a shipbuilder named Thomas Bellamy. But the page in front of her now described him as a merchant banker. She stared. One line. One profession. A tiny difference. Yet she felt certain it hadn't been there before. Had she misread it? She flipped back several pages. Then forward again. Merchant banker. The words remained unchanged. Eleanor opened her laptop and accessed the preliminary transcription she had completed earlier that evening. The digital copy still showed. Thomas Bellamy, shipbuilder. Her pulse quickened. A transcription error? Perhaps. But Eleanor rarely made transcription errors. Especially not simple ones. She compared the text again. Shipbuilder. Merchant banker. Two entirely different lives. The discrepancy was small enough that most people would never notice. Yet the longer she stared at it, the stranger it felt. Because the paragraph itself showed no signs of alteration. No erased ink. No replacement page. No restoration marks. Nothing. It looked original. As if it had always said merchant banker. A chill crept through her. Not fear. Confusion. The dangerous cousin of fear. Eleanor closed the book. She needed another perspective. The next morning arrived gray and cold. The library occupied an entire city block and resembled a cathedral more than an academic institution. Marble columns lined the entrance. Massive arched windows reflected the cloudy sky. Tourists often photographed the building without realizing that its true treasures lay hidden far below ground. Millions of records. Private collections. Letters. Maps. Diaries. Entire lifetimes preserved in paper and ink. Eleanor crossed the main hall carrying a stack of files. The scent of old books lingered everywhere. Near the central staircase, she spotted Arthur Finch. The retired archivist moved slowly these days, leaning on a polished cane. His white hair resembled scattered paper illuminated by morning sunlight. Arthur had spent 40 years inside the library. Many employees joked that he knew the collection better than the architects. Eleanor trusted him more than anyone. Arthur. He looked up. Eleanor. She placed the file on a nearby table. I need your opinion. Arthur smiled. That sounds dangerous. She opened the Bellamy volume. Within minutes, she had explained the discrepancy. Arthur listened without interruption. When she finished, he examined the page carefully. Then he studied her notes. His smile disappeared. Interesting. That's all you have to say. It's interesting. Arthur. He remained silent for several moments. Do you still have yesterday's photographs? Eleanor blinked. Photographs? Of the page. I didn't take any. Arthur's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. The reaction lasted less than a second. But Eleanor noticed. What? Nothing. You know something. No. Arthur. He closed the book. You're probably looking at a printing variation. But it happens. Not like this. Arthur tapped the page. Books are less stable than people imagine. Something in his voice sounded rehearsed. For the first time, Eleanor sensed hesitation. Not uncertainty. Avoidance. Before she could push further, Arthur stood. I have a meeting. You retired. Exactly. He smiled faintly. That's why every meeting feels important. Then he walked away. Eleanor watched him disappear into the crowd. The unease returned. Stronger this time. Because Arthur Finch never avoided questions. Especially questions about books. By afternoon, Eleanor had convinced herself she was overreacting. The discrepancy remained unusual but explainable. Printing mistakes happened. Publishing errors happened. Human memory failed constantly. Reality was rarely as mysterious as it seemed. Still, something nagged at her. So she requested another copy. The Bellamy history had been printed in limited numbers. The library owned two. The second volume arrived from secure storage shortly before closing time. Eleanor carried it to a private examination room. Carefully, she placed both books side by side. Same title. Same publisher. Same edition. Same publication year. Identical in every visible way. She opened the first copy. Merchant banker. She opened the second. Shipbuilder. The room suddenly felt smaller. Eleanor stared at both pages. Again. And again. The difference was undeniable. Two supposedly identical books. Two different histories. Neither showed signs of tampering. Neither appeared damaged. Both looked authentic. For several moments she simply sat there, listening to the ticking clock on the wall. A rational explanation existed. There had to be one. But she couldn't find it. The discrepancy seemed insignificant. Just one profession. One ancestor. One sentence. Yet it carried consequences. A shipbuilder and a banker leave different records. Different assets. Different relationships. Different descendants. Different stories. Eleanor photographed both pages. Then she searched newspaper archives. Tax records. Shipping manifests. Business directories. Anything connected to Thomas Bellamy. The results made her stomach tighten. Because the records disagreed. Some identified him as a shipbuilder. Others listed him as a banker. A few mentioned both. As though two versions of the same man existed simultaneously inside history. The contradictions multiplied the deeper she searched. By 8 o'clock, the library was nearly empty. By 9, she was alone again. Rain battered the windows. Thunder rolled somewhere beyond the city skyline. Eleanor sat surrounded by documents. Patterns emerged. Then vanished. Every answer generated new questions. Finally she pushed away from the desk. Enough. She would continue tomorrow. Exhaustion was turning shadows into mysteries. She packed her notes. Closed her laptop. Locked the examination room. Then paused. Something felt wrong. A tiny detail. A sensation she couldn't identify. Slowly she turned back toward the table. The Bellamy volume remained where she had left it. At least, she thought it did. Eleanor approached. Opened the book. And felt every muscle in her body go still. The page had changed. Not dramatically. Not obviously. Just enough. A dedication printed near the bottom was different from the one she remembered reading an hour earlier. She checked her photograph. Then looked at the page. Then checked again. The names no longer matched. For several seconds she simply stared. The silence pressed against her ears. Rain hammered the glass. The library seemed impossibly vast around her. Empty. Watching. Waiting. Eleanor looked down at the photograph one last time. The image clearly showed one dedication. The book in front of her now showed another. And for the first time since this began, a disturbing possibility entered her mind. What if the problem wasn't the records she was finding? What if the records themselves were changing? She slowly closed the book. Then noticed something written faintly in pencil along the inside margin. 3 words. Words she was absolutely certain had not been there before. Check the earlier copy. Eleanor stared at the message. The handwriting looked old. Deliberate. Familiar. And somewhere deep inside her memory, she realized she had seen that handwriting before. It belonged to Arthur Finch. Part 2, The Duplicate. Eleanor Voss barely slept. The words remained with her long after she left the library. Check the earlier copy. 3 simple words. 3 impossible words. She had examined the Bellamy volume herself. The margin had been blank. She was certain of it. Yet when she closed the book for the final time, the message had been there, written in faint pencil strokes that looked decades old. And worse, she recognized the handwriting. Arthur Finch. By 2 in the morning she had convinced herself there was a rational explanation. By 4, she no longer believed it. The next day arrived under a blanket of low gray clouds. The city seemed muted, as though someone had lowered the volume of the world. Eleanor entered the library through the staff entrance and immediately headed toward the secure collections wing. She wanted answers before doubt had time to settle in. The Bellamy books waited exactly where she had left them. At first glance they appeared identical. Same binding. Same publisher. Same year. Same aging patterns. Yet the moment she opened them side by side, the differences became impossible to ignore. The first volume described Thomas Bellamy as a merchant banker. The second identified him as a shipbuilder. Different professions. Different histories. Neither appeared altered. Neither looked counterfeit. Both seemed authentic. Eleanor photographed every page. Not just the disputed sections. Everything. Dedications. Indexes. References. Illustrations. By noon she had documented over 30 discrepancies. Some were small. A middle initial. A date. A location. Others were more troubling. Entire paragraphs existed in one copy but not the other. A family member appeared in one version and vanished from the next. A marriage was recorded differently. A business partnership shifted by nearly 5 years. Individually, the changes meant little. Together, they painted two slightly different versions of the Bellamy family history. It was as though someone had rewritten reality with a very careful hand. Not enough to attract attention. Just enough to change outcomes. The realization made her uncomfortable. Because history wasn't built from dramatic events alone. History was built from details. Tiny details. The kind most people ignored. The kind archivists protected. A knock interrupted her thoughts. She looked up. Marcus Hale stood in the doorway holding 2 cups of coffee. "Someone told me you've been hiding in here since sunrise." Marcus worked in digital preservation. Most of the library considered him a technical wizard. He could restore damaged manuscripts, recover corrupted archives, and navigate databases that made other employees nervous. He was also one of the few people Eleanor tolerated before her second cup of coffee. "You look terrible," Marcus observed. "Good morning to you too." He handed her a cup. "What happened?" Eleanor hesitated. Then she showed him the books. Marcus spent several minutes examining them. His expression gradually shifted from amusement to concentration. "That's strange." "That's what I said." "No, I mean genuinely strange." He pointed toward a paragraph. "The typography differs." Eleanor blinked. "What?" Marcus adjusted his glasses. "Look closely." She leaned forward. At first she saw nothing. Then she noticed it. The letter spacing. Barely visible. Yet undeniably different. The words occupied the same physical space on the page. But the font alignment wasn't identical. As though the pages had been typeset separately. "Different printings?" Eleanor asked. Marcus shook his head. "Maybe." The uncertainty in his voice suggested otherwise. He examined several additional pages. Then another. And another. Eventually he sat back. "I've never seen anything quite like this." Neither had Eleanor. That was precisely the problem. The library contained millions of books. Yet nothing in her experience explained what sat before them. Marcus glanced toward the window. Rain slid down the glass. "Have you shown Arthur?" The question tightened something inside her chest. "I spoke to him yesterday. And he acted strange." Marcus laughed softly. "Arthur always acts strange." "No. Stranger." She told him about the message. The handwriting. The margin note. Everything. For the first time, Marcus looked genuinely unsettled. "You're sure it wasn't already there?" "Absolutely." He studied her face. Then nodded. "You don't sound uncertain." "I'm not." Silence settled between them. Neither seemed eager to voice the obvious conclusion. Because the obvious conclusion was impossible. Finally Marcus stood. "I'll check the digitization records." "Why?" "If these books came from different source scans at some point, there might be metadata discrepancies." It wasn't much. But it was something. Eleanor watched him leave. Then returned to the books. Hours passed. Outside, the weather worsened. The library grew quieter. Researchers departed. Students disappeared. The steady rhythm of footsteps faded from the corridors. By evening, Eleanor had uncovered another anomaly. This one disturbed her more than all the others combined. A citation. Near the end of chapter 9. A reference to a regional shipping ledger from 1894. She searched the library catalog. Nothing. She checked external databases. Nothing. The cited document appeared not to exist. Perhaps it had been lost. Perhaps it had been renamed. Yet the reference itself seemed unusually precise. As if someone expected future readers to verify it. She searched again. And again. Still nothing. A dead end. The first of many. At 6:30, Marcus returned. His expression told her everything before he spoke. "You found something." "I found too much." He dropped a folder onto the table. Inside were printouts from the library's digital archive system. Eleanor scanned the pages. Her pulse quickened. The records conflicted. Not just slightly. Fundamentally. Different database snapshots preserved different versions of the same text. Versions separated by years. Versions separated by months. Sometimes versions separated by only days. Yet no revision logs existed. No record of edits. No explanation. Nothing. "That's impossible," Eleanor whispered. "That's what our system says." She looked up. "What does that mean?" Marcus hesitated. Then answered carefully. "It means somebody changed things. Recently? I don't know. Can you trace it?" "No." The single word carried alarming weight. Marcus rarely admitted defeat. If he couldn't trace the changes, someone had been extremely thorough. Or extremely powerful. A sudden sound echoed through the room. A metallic thud somewhere beyond the archives. Both turned. Silence followed. The library had a way of producing mysterious noises. Old buildings always did. Still, neither moved. After several seconds, Marcus exhaled. Probably maintenance. Probably. Yet neither sounded convinced. The conversation ended shortly afterward. Marcus returned to his department. Eleanor remained. The mystery refused to release its grip. At 9 o'clock she finally packed her notes. Exhaustion clouded her thoughts. Tomorrow would be more productive. Tomorrow would make sense. At least she hoped so. As she exited the archive room, a familiar figure appeared at the far end of the corridor. Arthur Finch. The old archivist stood alone beneath a pool of yellow light. His cane rested against one shoulder. His face appeared unusually serious. For a moment neither moved. Then Arthur gestured for her to approach. Eleanor crossed the corridor. "Arthur." He looked around before speaking. "Not nervous. Careful. There are some questions," he said quietly, "that become dangerous when you find the answers." Eleanor stared. "What does that mean?" "It means stop looking at the Bellamy books." "No." His eyes hardened. "Listen to me." "No." Arthur studied her for several seconds. Then sighed. The sound carried years of exhaustion. "You remind me of someone." "Who?" "Myself." The answer surprised her. Arthur reached into his coat pocket. He removed a folded piece of paper. Old. Yellowed. Worn from handling. "Take this." She unfolded it. A call number. Nothing else. No title. No explanation. Just a catalog reference. "What is it?" Arthur looked down the corridor. His expression changed. Fear. Real fear. The sight shocked her. She had never seen Arthur Finch afraid of anything. "The earlier copy," he said softly. Then he turned and walked away. Eleanor watched him disappear around the corner. Confused, she looked back at the paper. The call number belonged to a book stored deep within the library's oldest collection. A collection rarely accessed. A collection that, according to the catalogue, contained only one surviving copy. But as Eleanor stared at the reference, another detail caught her attention. A handwritten note appeared beneath the number. Small. Almost invisible. Written in Arthur's unmistakable script. 3 words. Never trust duplicates. And before she could fully process what that meant, every light in the corridor suddenly went dark.